So Emma's question is, how do you find out what your customers want? And if you've started a new business and you know you need to understand your customers better, but how do you go about really understanding what it is that they actually want? And it's an interesting question, and it's a central question here at Planet Ask because there's a dirty little secret that you may know, which is as follows. People don't really know what they want. In fact, when you hear this question, it evokes that famous quote attributed to Henry Ford, which reads, "If I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have told me faster horses." Or the quote attributed to Steve Jobs, which reads, "People don't know what they want, but until you show it to them." The reason why these quotes ring true is because, listen, they are true. People don't know what they want. In fact, if I were to ask you, this is a great example to experience this in action. If I were to ask you a question like, what does your perfect car include? Like the car that you drive, if you could create the perfect car, what does that include? Your brain immediately begins to speculate. Your brain immediately begins to guess. Your brain starts to think what you might want. But here's the deal. Your brain is making it up. Your brain doesn't really know. But similar situation. Instead, imagine for a moment if I asked you, what is the biggest thing that annoys you about the car you're driving right now? What might that be? You most likely can think of something that's annoying about your car. Like for me and my wife's car, it's the fact that, oh my gosh, the GPS is like the biggest pain in the butt to punch in. There's like 17 menus that you need to go through just to add a stupid address. Now in my car, I can just use my voice on the 17-inch touchscreen, but in her car, you have to go through all these menus. It's such a pain in the butt that we end up just using Google Maps on one of our iPhones. It's super simple. I can answer that question in a heartbeat. So the takeaway behind all that is this. The thing to know is that there are only two types of information people are good at accurately answering. The first is what it is that you don't like about something, and the second is your past behavior. So for example, if I asked you, tell me, what was the car that you drove before the one you're driving right now? What is it? What was the one before that? And a really interesting question, what was the first car that you ever drove? You see, we're really good at accurately answering questions like this about our past behavior, much better than projecting into the future. So I want to give you two questions that you can ask in the form of something that we call the deep dive survey to figure out what it is that people want. And you want to pay attention to this because even if you're a longtime student of the Ask method, one of these questions is something you may not have ever heard me talk about. So the first question is what we call the pain or struggle question. And it goes like this. When it comes to X being the thing that you want to help people solve, what's been your biggest challenge, frustration, or obstacle that you've struggled with? If you've followed the Ask method for any length of time, then you know that this is what we call the SMIQ, or the single most important question, because it helps uncover what it is that people don't want. But then you can follow that up with another question, which is as follows. What solutions have you tried to solve this problem? And here's the key. How much money have you spent trying to solve this issue? See, what this does is it helps uncover past behavior, and it gives you a clue. Is this something people have worked hard to solve, something that they've spent a lot of money to solve, which are both, by the way, clues that they'll likely try more things or spend more money in the future to solve? Or is this something that they haven't spent any money at all in the past to solve, which is a clue that it's unlikely that they'll spend money to solve it or that it's an important enough problem to invest time and money in? It's a key second question to uncover that past behavior element. So, to sum things up, simply put, if you want to figure out what people want, you just can't walk through the front door and ask, because people don't know what they really want. Instead, you have to go through that side door. You have to focus on figuring out what it is that people don't want and what they've tried in the past that hasn't worked. And then from there, find or build a solution that fills that gap.